Thank you all for coming. This is a momentous occasion for us. The Environmental Education Center has been a project in this community for probably close to a decade, and so while it's very small in size, it's quite extensive in detail and thought. This is a particularly important building for us because it represents two of the core values of this community, the environment and education. So between the two, it's quite important and quite significant. And like I said, it's been a labor of love and truly a labor because it's, again, taken us 10 years. And I wanted to thank a couple of people, even though I know my director will probably repeat this, but between Katie Jensen and Carmen Linaw, who has spent the better part of 2 years wrestling with contractors and architects and council members wanting to change the design several times. We are finally here with a facility that when you go through, you'll be amazed at how well designed it is and how appropriate it is for our community. But I know you all want to get in to check it out, so I'm going to pass the baton to Director Tim Borden, who was closely managing and designing this project. So, and he'll give you the details of all the people involved in this. And the war stories.
We'll try to avoid the war stories, but yeah, I'm Tim Borden, Director of Public Works, and it really is a pleasure to be here today. We are going to talk just a little bit about the project, but then a lot about the people that really made this happen. This is the type of project that is extremely rewarding, whether you're a community member, a designer, with Recreation Community Services, and you're going to run the programs here. It's extremely important. So for the last 3-4 years, probably half the people in this audience, as you drive by this project, you're saying, that's my project. You're telling your family, that's my project. So there's a lot of people that call this my project, and that's a great thing. I'm going to talk about this being such a big achievement. It does complete and open the new Environmental Education Center, the Blacksmith shop, and then all of the circulation and landscaping elements that you see that really dressed this up so nice in the last few weeks. It does take a village to make something like this happen, and like David said, it's taken a long time, so a lot of different parts of that village. So I'm going to talk about that. First, I'm going to talk about the people that really made this happen from a funding perspective. So the state of California Department of Parks and Recreation, there was a competitive grant process some time ago for $251,000, and we won out on that. And the state stuck with us through kind of good times, bad times, on again, off again, and we kept them engaged, says we really plan to do this, and they stuck with us the whole way, and that's really something. The other group that continued to have faith in this project and knew what it meant to the community continued to fund all of the master planning and the construction of the project was our various city councils through the years. So there's been a lot of times when things weren't so good financially, when things weren't so good from a project perspective. There's times where they could have given up, but they were with us the whole way. Now I'm going to talk about design and construction teams. So first I'll talk about the design team of Siegel and Strain Architects. Henry Siegel, Michael Hayden, and Burton Edwards, all very much involved in making this happen and making this look the way it looks like today. We had environmental consultants, very appropriate for this type of project, David J. Powers and Associates, Jody Starbird. H.C. Harvey Biology was Julie Klingman and Robin Carl. And then our construction contractor, Romcon Construction. And then construction management, out here all the time, making sure all these finishing touches are there and the building's ready to operate. That's Gilbane Building Company, Glen Rock, and Dana Johnson. Site improvements, again, the last few weeks is really when things started buttoning up and looking like a real project rather than a construction zone, and seeing it as nice as it is today. And that was our design consultant there was RHAA Landscape Architects, Megan Dale. And our construction contractor for that project was Green Growth with Oscar Gonzalez. Third, I'd like to talk about the city staff. I'm not going to name every name because I know I'll miss some, but Recreation and Community Services, Carol Atwood, the director, will come up and talk about all the different people that added to this, but and the former people on that staff that added to it. But I can tell you that Gail Seeds has been really the one that has kept that funding, that state funding together for us. And then Carol will talk about the people that really live out here and really have helped to make this happen and made it so this will work for every program that they operate. And that's Barbara and David Jans and Christine Hannell. So I'll let Carol talk more about that. From our Public Works, Capital Projects, and Engineering staff, David mentioned two people, Katie Jensen, our CIP project manager. So Katie's here, and she's been shepherding this through with some pretty tough decisions over the life of the construction here. But really want to have a round of applause for Carmen Lina. This one may be Carmen's last project, and it's a jewel. So I really appreciate her diligence in making this happen. Thank you, Carmen. Next, I do want to talk about the community. Through the various master plan processes, through the years, there's been people that have stayed with every one of those master plan processes. It's been the Teen Commission, it's been the Audubon Society staff, Actera, the Fremont Union High School, biology and environmental science teachers, and then a lot of the community has come out to the various meetings to give their input. And really, it's all resulted in the culmination of what we have here today. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Carol Atwood, Director of Recreation and Community Services.
Thank you very much. I'm not really big into speeches, so I'll keep this really short. But as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. It really does take a village to do something like this. I am so excited. I can still remember Deborah Jameson coming to a council meeting and actually getting tears in her eyes because she thought this was actually going to happen. And I know some of you have been involved since '93 with the original master plan, and then again in 2012 with the revised master plan. And those pieces were so rich and so visionary that a lot of it hasn't changed. But it's our job now as custodians of this wonderful place to keep it alive and keep it improved and loved and program it to the hilt until our community says we've had enough. So with that being said, I do want to thank some people. Therese Smith is here with us today. She's 2 directors ago and this whole corridor and the creek and getting rid of the blue tarp on the Blacksmith shop. And the EEC was definitely part of her charge. Mark Linder couldn't be here today. He's the director right before me. Staff has been wonderful. I was really worried about 6 months ago, and they came through with flying colors. Gail and Christine were our Park and Rec project managers, and they have been awesome, and I have not had to worry about sleeping at night. I know that they have gotten the job done and even better than expectations. David Jans and Keith and Barbara are just boiling with great programming ideas for you and richness that they bring to this place. And Barbara, especially Barbara Banfield, this is her love and her heart and soul, and if you really want to tell some great story, get some time someday and go find Barbara, and she will show you her passion about mushrooms and bugs and full moons and everything else and what she wants to do with this place, and it's all exciting and will catch that spirit. And I also want to give a big thank you to her partner, Lester McClellan. I probably butchered that name. Lester is our adopted blacksmith and has been wonderful as far as setting up the blacksmith shop, which you'll see very shortly. His expertise has been so much needed, and again, his love for this place shows as well. So thank you very much, Lester. We appreciate that. Other people that I want to thank, We had a talent exchange program person, Sunshine, who's been with us for 3 months, who just jumped into the project and is responsible for interpretive signage. So a lot of effort has gone into this, and I think you'll see tons of effort coming forth because of their ideas. Our public works crew out at the yard descended on this facility and made it wonderfully beautiful. They were even replacing boards on our gardener's shed and painting it this week. So thank you so much to facilities and grounds and trees and everyone that, that participated in that. Katie and Carmen, obviously, they had some challenges, to say the least. I think that's putting it mildly with this project, and they always kept their cool and were able to work through construction issues and design issues. And then finally, a big thank you to our partners and our stakeholders, whether it's 4-H, Audubon, Friends of Stevens Trail, our own community gardeners, our master gardeners, Actera. We can go on and on because there's so many people that love this facility and so many hands that have contributed to the success of today and into our future. I would also like to thank the community that stayed with us through all these years, and to also thank my Park and Recreation Commission, who is up here, and their love for bringing you wonderfully exciting venues, as well as my former commissioners. I know I see one in the audience, and former council. I see one in the audience, and our current council, because as Tim said, we had $251,000 to do this project. At the end of the day, we had over $3 million to do this project, but that couldn't have happened without people catching that spirit and vision and really hearing the community about what you wanted and what our kids needed as far as creek and environmental education. And so thank you again. I can't say enough. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. I'm here a lot, but this is a special day. I'm also not used to speaking in front of a podium, so I may be a tad bit nervous. But anyway, I just want to thank everyone who made this happen. This has been something, a vision that I've hoped for a long time. And it took a lot of people to put, I won't reiterate everybody that prior people went through, but all the Parks and Rec commissioners, the city council members, past and present, everyone who worked on this project, from the people that were sweeping sidewalks today to the people that were measuring this and making sure where the floodplain was at the very beginning of this project. Everywhere, everyone through this was important, and the community. This wouldn't be happening if there wasn't a lot of community support for programs out here. But I really want to talk about the story behind this. Every good project has a story, and this one has a really incredible one. It's a one that began a long time ago, before this project was even conceived, before Cupertino was even a city. It has a lot of threads, a lot of people, a lot of different stories woven together to really make this come to pass. William Bear was a blacksmith who moved to this area in 1888. He set up a blacksmith shop at the crossroads, and well, you see a blacksmith shop over there? That's not his shop. But he had a son, Charlie, and Charlie learned the craft of blacksmithing. And he might have followed in his father's footsteps, except times change. Just like today, new technologies come along and the whole economy changes. Well, it was like that in the past. And Charlie was at the crossroads when the first Model T rolled through. I heard this story. His granddaughter, William Bear's granddaughter's here today, and she told me the story. And he saw that, and he realized that he had an opportunity, and he decided to go ahead and open a garage at that site where the blacksmith shop was. He went on and opened the gas station there. But just because he moved forward and embraced the opportunities that came with changing technology didn't mean he didn't care about the past. He went on to preserve all those blacksmith tools over there. He really loved history. He loved the past. And when a barn was being torn down at the Jollyman site, he scavenged that wood, he reused it, and he built that shop over there. It was a smaller replica of his father's shop at the Crossroads. And so he preserved there. And before, you think we're hoping to do demonstrations there, but Charlie at his home where that first sat brought in scout groups, school groups, and showed them how blacksmithing was done. And anyway, so he valued and he preserved that. A little bit later, there was another community member who came along. She also came from the same state where William Bear came, from Pennsylvania. Her name is Zoe Thompson. Zoe Thompson went to Carnegie Institute Fine Arts program and became a painter, and a well-recognized painter. And she came here and raised her children, some of whom are right here today. And she wanted to preserve the past too. And she saw a lot of change in Cupertino. She saw development, and with it came the loss of open space, the loss of beautiful old homes and structures, and she started painting them. So she preserved them in a way, not physically, but captured them in a really beautiful way. She also, at that time, took a class at De Anza College on history, and she had to do a project for a history class. Being an artist, she did an artistic project. She met Charlie Bear, and she went to his shop, and she sketched all his tools. And she has donated that book of sketches to the city. We've reproduced it so you can have a copy yourself. But she also brought Charlie here today. If you go in the blacksmith shop, you'll see a beautiful painting of Charlie Bear that was done by Zoe Thompson. So I'm really glad that he's here in spirit through that painting. Anyway, that blacksmith shop was eventually moved here. The city preserved it in its own way. But they wouldn't have been able to move it here if there hadn't been a McClellan Ranch Preserve, a park here. And so there's some other people who really played an important role in making sure that this open space was preserved. And I'm sure there were a lot of people that were involved in that. But there are two people I really want to mention. And there are two people that I had the wonderful opportunity to meet. And that's Nancy Herder and Lonnie Tonesfeld. Neither of them are here with us today. They've passed on, but they've left us this, which I'm so grateful for. I know that Nancy, I read some things about her recently, that she moved here the post-war time. She, with her husband, had a home here. And already, that was early on in Cupertino's time. Before it was an incorporated city, she was already lobbying for preserving land around here as a nature preserve. And she worked long and hard to make that realized, and she was finally successful. Lonnie Tonesfeld was another resident who was really active. She was on the Parks and Rec Commission. She did a lot of community service, and she worked to have this as a nature and rural preserve too. And at the time, she also talked to the city council of that day into allowing the use of some of these buildings for a 4-H club. And so she established Rolling Hills 4-H Club. And I don't know how many kids can have gone through over the years, but it's been a really valuable institution here. Later on, both Lonnie and Nancy served on the master plan committee that Carol mentioned, along with Dean Skeels, Judith Carson-Crows, Catherine Slate. We had Randall Binkley, was somebody I had the opportunity to know, who was a science teacher in the community, who really was pushing getting girls into science and technology back in the 70s and later through the years. He was inspiration to me. Anyway, so we have this master plan, and we've had a lot of things realized through that. We've had some restoration of historic buildings. We've had education programs. But, you know, there's still a lot to do. And a lot of people are carrying on doing it. Acterra is over there. They are out here a couple days a week at least doing restoration in the meadow. They also monitor the health of the stream, and they could use more help. So check out their table. Santa Clara Valley Audubon does great work. They have that wonderful Wildlife Education Day. They have nest boxes all along the trail that they monitor. Those are little things that when I'm here with the school group that make a big difference, because you can't believe how many times I've had a whole class just watch with wonder as chickadees or nuthatches moving in and out of those nest boxes, and they're just really visible along the trail, and they're really wonderful. 4-H has been an immense positive presence here. There's so many school groups that I don't know if they'd have a chance to see a goat or a sheep or meet chickens or anything. They help with programs here. It's great having them on site. But now consider volunteering with one of these groups, or with our own city has some volunteer opportunities, the Helping Hands. We're working to have a docent program here. We really would love to have more community people here, and we would love to have you continue to support this, even if it's just, you're supporting it every time you bring a kid here and help them enjoy this place. So anyway, I look forward to seeing a lot of you out here, and I've been happy to be here all these years.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to McClellan Ranch Preserve. Isn't this a beautiful place? Yeah. Well, it has been for a long, long time, but with this addition, the Environmental Education Center here and the adjacent Blacksmith shop, we have, as a community, made a major investment in environmental education and our ability to get people into nature within our urban midst. So this is quite a special place indeed, and we look forward to adults as well as kids having the experience of increased programs here. And I want you to know it didn't come inexpensively. We spent, as a city, nearly $3.1 million to build this and the surrounding site. So it really is a very significant investment. It's expensive to get things built these days. As you might know, we're in a bit of a boom. And we are very appreciative to the State Department of Parks and Recreation for allowing us to just continue that grant, continue the grant for quite a few years. And that helped us to the tune, as Mr. Borden said, $251,000. So that's much appreciated. But you should know that Council voted unanimously to support this major undertaking. And I think the other thing I would point out for my council colleagues, like Gilbert's in the audience today. I think I saw Dolly a little earlier. So over many councils, we worked on this, but we recognized that it takes more than a building to provide that education. So in our last budget cycle, council voted unanimously to increase staff and programming here, because that's what it takes to provide the education. And, you know, it's the people that make our city go, and the building is simply a place, albeit a wonderful one, to do it in. I'd also like to recognize today the commissioners who serve as volunteers to the city on our Parks and Recreation Commission. Behind me, and they can all wave, I hope, Judy Wilson, Helene Davis, David Fung, Nisha Tambe, Carol Stanek, and our former Parks and Rec Commissioner I see in the audience, who's now on our Planning Commission, Jeff Paulson. So we'd like to recognize them as well. All had a piece in doing this. You might say, okay, what did you buy for all that? We built this very substantial structure and the adjacent Blacksmith shop. I'm going to focus on some of the features in this building as I was asked to. Radiant heat and cooling is built into the floor. A canopy overhang, this, provides shade and reduces heat gain, helping to keep the building cooler. We have a coating, a UV coating on the roof that lowers the temperature. We have windows that allow for fresh air and natural ventilation, and also ceiling fans that help to move the thing around. So a lot of features designed to keep this building at a temperature that's pleasant for humans while minimizing the amount of active energy we have to put in. We have solar panels on the roof, light sensors that automatically take a look at the natural light and augment it with electric light. And we also on this building have an interesting feature, a valley in the center of the roof that collects rainwater, and so that can be that could be collected and put into rain barrels right time of the year. I guess we have yet to do that, but that's a possibility. We have certified wood salvaged from an old barn, and the concrete that was used in the construction of the building has a large component of fly ash, and that reduced the need for new cement. Cement is a highly energy intensive and emissions intensive process, so with fly ash we've reduced the carbon footprint required to make this building. And we have fritted glass in selected windows, windowing, which allows better visibility for birds. We're not interested in having a nature center that birds want to crash into. So all these features have made this should be a wonderful place for this generation and generations to come, and we're grateful to our city staff for executing it. Again, to the State Department of Parks and Rec, thank you for hanging in there with us. And we're very proud now to proceed to cut the ribbon on these two beautiful facilities. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. The unveiling of the Boulder. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Wow, very cool.
aggressive and venomous. So the kids come and they have that weird perception that snakes, all snakes are bad.
Is she warm? What are you doing under? Is she warm or is she cold? She's cold. She's cold, right?